Good evening and welcome to the regular session of council. It is Thursday, August the 21st, 2025, 7 p.m. and I will call this meeting to order. Remind members of disclosures of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. None noted. Section 3, review of items not listed on the agenda.
We have none tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Section 4, announcements from council members. Does anyone have an announcement?
Come on, Mr. Mayor, you got this.
All right, then. Of course, we have only the one meeting this month. It's a good enough agenda to keep us engaged for the evening. But I wish to remind individuals that this weekend is the annual Watermelon Fest. Parade begins at 10 p.m. from the school parking lot. Did I say M or PM? Hey,
AM.
nighttime parade would be fun, eh? Yeah. Okay, it's a 10 a.m. parade beginning from the school parking lot. Preceding that, Station 2 in Stratfordville will be hosting a pancake breakfast, assuming that they will begin somewhere around 8 a.m., according to Councillor Chilcott. We'll take you at your word.
At my guess.
At your guess. That's the only announcements that I have, other than the fact that we're still in the cemetery decoration season. This week, I believe it's St. Luke's. And following, I believe it's either next week or the following would be Eden. So keep those in mind. I believe we have no presentations for the evening. You have an announcement, Thomas?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick note that Labor Day this year falls on September the 1st, and the municipal office will be closed in observance.
Thank you. We have no delegations for the evening or presentations, which means we move down to Section 7, adoption of the minutes of the previous meetings. 4 sets of meetings. And I would entertain a mover and a seconder for the following. That the minutes of the regular meeting of council held July the 17th, 2025, the minutes of the statutory planning meeting held July the 17th, 2025, the minutes of the quarter revision meeting held July the 17th, 2025, and the minutes of the special meeting of council held July the 30th, 2025 be approved as presented. Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Deputy Mayor Weisler and Councillor Chilcott. If there are no errors or omissions, I'll call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Skipping down to Section 11, Physical Services, Emergency Services, 11.2, Reports to Council. We begin with Report BL 0425 by Mark Russell, Bylaw Enforcement Officer, regarding the 2025 Bylaw Enforcement Services Mid-Year Report. I believe you're taking this evening, Thomas. Please.
Correct, Mr. Mayor. So this report is kind of a mid-year statistical report to council about what we've seen in the bylaw enforcement services for the first half of the year. So starting with calls for service, we have received 97 complaints in the first half of the year. This compares to 79 from 2024. So this is approximately a 23% increase. If this pace continues, we'll end up with one of, if not the busiest year for complaint-based bylaw enforcement. Despite the increase in the number of complaints, the number of complaints that have been actioned within 5 business days, which is our service standard, remains high, currently over 90%, similar to the same period in 2024. Based upon geography, see the chart and then the table there on page 3. So the chart shows that what appears to be 62% of the complaints in the first half of the year have come out of Port Burwell and Vienna, with then lesser amounts in Stratfordville, Eden, and then rural Bayham. So Ward 1 continues to be the majority of the complaints we tend to receive. For type of complaints, we have seen an increase in parking complaints, and while I don't have that information in front of me and can't explicitly confirm it, it is quite likely that some of these additional complaints have come in because of some of the additional changes to the traffic and parking bylaw, specifically with some of the regulation changes in Port Burwell. We have seen a decrease, however, that corresponds in lot maintenance complaints, which is good to see because generally speaking, these take up a lot of staff time for inspection and re-inspection purposes. In regards to parking, I know this is part of the parking pilot program, and we'll have a more fulsome report on this after the pilot program closes. But we've issued 198 parking tickets in the municipality this year, and 183 of those have been associated with the beach or beach zone as part of that pilot program. And that is for the first half. So that ends June 30th. There have been more issued since. And then there's a little bit of information just for council that we include for information purposes on how response to complaints are handled and the fees that generally apply for those out of the rates and fees bylaw. So in conclusion, it has been a busy year. We have been moving forward with the parking pilot, and we have seen fines that have been levied for parking because of that. I'll speak a little bit more to first half of the year revenues as we get into one of the later reports tonight. We are having success with our seasonal bylaw enforcement officer as well, and it's worth noting that the seasonal residential parking permit applications under the parking pilot, we've issued over 99% of those. 1,143 passes have been issued so far, so we believe it to be very successful. And we have managed to maintain the level of service in both Bayham and Malahide during this time. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I'm available for whatever questions I may be able to handle in this report. Recommendation is to receive for information.
Thank you for that report, Thomas. Does anyone have any questions for staff? Oh, boy. Councillor Chilcott.
Thank you. I just wondered, out of that 183, how many of them were second time notices of non-compliance? You've got your first notice of non-compliance is free, and then step 2.
No, this is the parking numbers.
Sorry.
Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yes, there are no notices like
Sorry.
that.
No, I misread it.
Okay, sorry.
I was reading it while you were.
Okay, sorry about that. Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. Just under the, I see it doubled from 2024, but there's the several bylaw issues. Is this just a blanket for miscellaneous, or just wondering what that means?
Good question. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the Deputy Mayor. That would be one where a complaint comes in and it covers multiple different bylaws. So we could have a bylaw complaint that comes in and it deals with something like, say, lot maintenance and property standards, or it's an animal control dog at large, or something like that. There's multiple different categories, and we don't want to count it multiple times because that skews the figures. So the several bylaw complaints category is that catch-all for ones that fall into multiple bins.
Supplementary.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. I don't want to put Steve on the spot here, but I see he's in the room. So I just had a quick question. I noticed that the last 2 years, we've had no complaints in regards to dumping or roadside garbage. And I'm wondering if that speaks to maybe the cameras that we installed, or if there's been any noticeable difference with that type, obviously.
Through your worship, the Deputy Mayor. The garbage, I think we discussed it a little while back, but it has been noticeably better. I can't say the actual reason why. The signages have been maintaining at the locations. There are a couple actually right now I did notice missing. Cameras haven't been out in a while because it's it hasn't been as frequent. However, we still handle them as they come. Spring and fall are our big times. COVID was a different time. This was when it was really ramped up. I think people spent time at home and they were trying to find a spot for their extra waste. So unfortunately, but I'm glad to say that honestly, has been better. Residents been better. So it's a good thing.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Steve. Yeah. Knock on wood, it's exactly.
Any additional questions for staff on bylaw? Okay, thank you again for that report. We have a motion and before it that reads that that report BL 0425 regarding the 2025 bylaw enforcement service mid-year report be received for information. We have a mover and seconder for that. Deputy Mayor Weisler, Councillor Chilcott, all in favor? That's carried. Moving on with report PS 0825 by Steve Adams, Manager of Public Works, Drainage Superintendent, regarding the quotation award, RFQ 2501 Stratfordville Community Park Storage Building Upgrades. Good evening, Steve.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the report before you for RFQ 0125 award for the Stratfordville Community Park Storage Building upgrades. This quotation was part of the 2025 capital budget, which included PR07 and PR08. If you recall, PR07 was the Stratfordville Community Park Pavilion. There was a capital line for 10,000 for roof upgrades. After staff inspected the soffit fascia roof, found that it was in great shape. We couldn't find signs of leaking. So at this time, staff decided to move ahead and leave this for future years. And PR08, this was for the other 3 storage buildings on site. Again, we did a full kind of assessment of the building, roof, soffit fascia, siding. So the first building that was assessed was the large storage shed in the back corner, southeast corner. We found that there was no drip edge that was previously installed along the outside of it. So we found some rot all along the edge of this. So we want to take care of that on that building. The man door on the building has been tampered with for years and is needed for an upgrade. And then part of this was the overhead or the sliding, the 3 sliding doors would be upgraded to overhead doors. The second building is the one on the east side of the ball diamond. This is the double door plywood door shed. We did find leaks within that roof. The siding fascia, it was in time, so we wrapped this one in all as one, which also included the double plywood door replacement. This would be replaced in the future with a small steel overhead door. And then the final one was the batting cage shed at the northwest corner of the ball diamond. This also revealed a couple small leaks to the soffit in this one. So we looked at soffit fascia and the gable siding again for replacement. So on July 14th, staff issued the RFQ 0125 that only covered PR08. We left 07 out, which was the pavilion upgrades. And on August 5th, this closed with only 2 bids. Staff did send it out to multiple vendors, multiple contractors. Unfortunately, we only heard back from 2. And the 2 bids were one Franklin Construction with $27,534.89 plus HST. And the second was the Haynes Group at $27,030 plus HST as well. So after we received these, I talked to both contractors and reviewed the tender docs, and there was a little bit, these were very competitive. However, some of the stuff didn't quite line up. And after talking to both contractors, we found that the Haynes Group, they left out the overhead doors in the back barn. This is outside of their scope of work, and they left this out for that reason until a third party would be brought in by the municipality to complete that. So with that, staff reached out to our door contractor, kind of got an overhead of about 13,000, replaced those doors. So this brought their price up quite considerably, close to 40,000 if municipal staff also complete the project. So the second one with Franklin, everything was confirmed. The requirements within the RFQ were confirmed. So staff do recommend moving ahead with Franklin Construction and reallocating PR07 into PR08, which was the additional 10,000 that would cover the 27,534 and some change plus HST. And the leftover funding would be recommended for transfer to reserve in February of 2026. So if staff wishes to proceed with this project, the contractor would be able to get started late September, early October. Any questions?
Well, thank you very much for that report. Does anyone have any questions for Steve? I have one. Steve, what's the advantage of going to an overhead door system versus either a sliding and or pulled open like swing doors?
On the overhead or on the Large shed.
Large plus the one.
The only problem we have with the overhead or the sliding doors right now is quite often we get kids in there on weekends. They're pulling them apart. We have additional chains on them. They do work. I'm not saying that there's not, we do get raccoons in it from it. So we do feel it will seal up the building a lot better. A big advantage for us, it still functions. Either door do function either way. It's a tighter building this way.
Okay, I understand that. I just wondered if you're going to be sacrificing storage capacity by the time you put the rails in.
That's a good question. I did ask, overhead rate. Currently, they actually have to use a low profile rail up top because there's not a lot of space up there. So otherwise, no
Okay.
door space will be it's going to be about an inch higher than the doors right now because they got to remove the double sill in it. So,
Okay, thank you.
yep.
Anyone else? All right. We have a proposed motion before us that reads Report PS 0825 regarding quotation award RFQ 2501 Stratfordville Community Park Storage Building Upgrades be received for information. And that council directs the $10,000 for capital item number PR 07 be reallocated to PR 08. And that council accepts the quotation provided by Franklin Construction in the amount of $27,534.89 plus HST for repairs to the Stratfordville Community Park storage buildings. Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Moved by Councillor Emerson, second by Councillor Chilcott. All in favor? That is carried. Section 7 or 12. Development Services, Sustainability and Conservation. 12.1 correspondence, 12.1.1 to receive for information. 2 items. Notice of decision regarding OPA 39, that's at 1498855 Ontario Inc. And item B, notice of public meeting regarding ZBA 1925 Bonnie and Cadman at 13540 Bayham Drive. Does anyone have any questions? Seeing none, we have a motion then that reads that items 12.11A and B be received for information. Councillor Chilcott, Deputy Mayor Weisler, all in favor? Carried. That's not a decline, right?
No, it's not.
No, okay, thank you. 12.12 requiring action. Reports to council. We have report DS 3525 by Margaret Underhill, Planning Coordinator, Deputy Clerk, regarding official plan amendment number OPA 0125 and zoning amendment ZBA 1725 Desjardins at 56149 Glen Erie Line. You'll be marked tonight. Thomas?
Wearing multiple hats tonight, Mr. Mayor. So thank you. This report comes forward in regards to a combined OPA zoning bylaw amendment, as you noted, for 56149 Glen Erie Line, Desjardins. Property is currently designated as Schedule 1 agricultural, natural gas reservoir overlay, and hazard lands on the west side of the property. The LPRCA confirms that the subject property is not subject to hazard lands and does not include wetlands. Subject property is currently zoned agricultural 1 on Schedule A, map 15 of the municipality's current zoning bylaw. The purpose of the OPA is to permit a large scale supplementary farm dwelling alongside 3 existing supplementary farm dwellings in the subject property that requires considerations to have been met as specified in section 2.111 of the official plan. These considerations include alternative locations for accommodations are not feasible or appropriate. There are no negative impacts from the proposed building to the surrounding community, and that the new building be situated within proximity of the existing farm building cluster. The effect of this OPA is to permit the development of 1 large-scale supplementary farm dwelling with a maximum gross floor area of 302 square meters, and a total of 4. Package apart here. 4 supplementary farm dwellings on the subject lands having a gross floor area in total of 500 meters to provide temporary accommodation for seasonal farm labor. In regards to the zoning bylaw amendment, the purpose is to rezone the property from A1 to a site-specific agricultural A1-51 to permit additional permitted uses in the form of 3 existing supplementary farm dwellings and 1 new large-scale supplementary farm dwelling on the property, requiring the additional following provisions. So section 51251(2), permit additional permitted uses for a maximum of 4 supplementary farm dwellings in the form of 3 supplementary farm dwellings and 1 large-scale supplementary farm dwelling. Section 51251(3), to permit a building area of 302 square meters for the 1 large-scale supplementary farm dwelling and a total floor area, gross floor area of 500 square meters for all 4 farm dwellings combined. In section 51251(4), to permit a minimum front yard depth of 6 meters to an existing supplementary farm dwelling, whereas section 4.2B requires not be built closer than the minimum distance required for the main building on the lot, which is 15 meters under section 5.8. The effect of the zoning bylaw is to permit 1 large-scale supplementary farm dwelling in addition to the 3 supplementary farm dwellings to accommodate seasonal workers. In regards to public participation, the meeting was held on July the 17th of this year in Chambers. The council did receive the appointed agent's presentation and no public comments in person or virtually. In regards to the discussion, the application, planning justification report, and relevant reports were considered by municipal staff, and the attached planner's memorandum provides the details and rationale for the recommendation. Staff planning opinion is that the application for amendments can be supported as they meet the provincial planning statement 2024, the Elgin County official plan, the Bayham official plan, and the zoning bylaw. The official plan amendment requires approval by the County of Elgin, and therefore staff recommend adopting OPA number 40 and the approval of the draft zoning bylaw. The OPA would then be forwarded on to the county. The attachments are reported before you, Mr. Mayor, and in Margaret's absence, I will do what I can to answer whatever questions you may have.
All right, thank you very much for that report, Thomas. Does anyone have any questions or concerns? As noted, the applicant's planner was present at the public meeting and provided a justification, and it is included. I reread it last night. And if there are no concerns, we have the following motion before us. That staff report DS 3525 regarding official plan amendment application OPA 0125 and zoning bylaw amendment application ZBA 1725 submitted by Desjardins be received for information, and that pursuant to Planning Act Regulations Bill 73, Smart Growth for Our Communities Act 2015, it be pointed out that at the public participation meeting held July the 17th, 2025, associated with these applications, the appointed agent presented a summary, and there were no public comments received in person or virtually, and all considerations were taken into account in council's decision passing this resolution. And that council considers the proposed amendment to add a site-specific text section to the official plan to be consistent with the provincial policy statement 2024 and in conformity with the Elgin County official plan and the municipality of Bayham official plan. And that bylaw number 2025-052 being an adopting bylaw for official plan amendment number 40 for the purpose of adding a new site-specific subsection 2.1.11.5 to the official plan, as subsequently zoning bylaw number Z812-2025 to rezone the subject property from the current agricultural A1 zone to site-specific agricultural A1-51 zone to permit a maximum of 4 supplementary farm dwellings in the form of 3 supplementary farm dwellings and 1 large-scale supplementary farm dwelling with a gross floor area of 302 square meters for a combined maximum gross floor area for all supplementary farm dwellings of 500 square meters, and to recognize an existing supplementary farm dwelling front yard setback of 6 meters on lands known municipally as 56149 Glen Erie Line to be presented for enactment, and that adopted official plan amendment 40 be forwarded to the County of Elgin for approval. Mover, is that a question or a mover?
Just a statement, the third paragraph was provincial planning statement, not policy statement. Just in case it matters.
Did I say policy? My apologies. We've always known it as a policy statement and they changed it to planning statement. You're correct. No. Thank you. After that. Councilor Emerson, you'll second?
Yep.
Thank you. Any other questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item B, report DS 3625 by Margaret Underhill, Planning Coordinator, Deputy Clerk, regarding official plan amendment OPA 0225 and zoning amendment ZBA 1825, VIN at 11045 Bayham, Norfolk Boundary Road. Thomas, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since this application is very similar to the other one, I'm going to try to abbreviate this one a little bit just for time. We do have a public meeting starting at 7:30. So this property, as you've noted, is 11045 Bayham, Norfolk Boundary Road, or Baynor. Property is currently designated A1 as agricultural with a natural gas overlay and hazard lands on the west of the lands. Per the below agency comments, the LPRC has confirmed that the development site is not within the LPRC regulated area. In regards to zoning, the property is currently zoned A1 agricultural in our current zoning bylaw. So this one is also to permit a large-scale supplementary farm dwelling on the property. However, this one is going to replace in the future the current one on the property alongside one existing supplementary farm dwelling. This requires consideration for the same section of the OP, 2.111. These considerations include alternative locations for accommodations are not feasible or appropriate. There are no negative impacts from the proposed building to the surrounding community, and that the new building be situated within proximity of the existing farm building cluster. The effect would be to permit the development of one large-scale supplementary farm dwelling with a gross floor area of 550 square meters to replace the existing one temporary supplementary farm dwelling in the future alongside one existing supplementary farm dwelling on these subject lands with a total gross floor area of 615 square meters. Again, the intent is to provide temporary accommodation for seasonal farm labor. In regards to the zoning bylaw, very similar. Rezone the property from A1 to a site-specific agricultural A1-52 to permit the additional use of large-scale supplementary farm dwellings in the form of two farm dwellings, one being an existing one, and one supplementary farm dwelling in the form of a temporary mobile home to be removed and replaced in the future by a large-scale supplementary farm dwelling. This requires three changes to section 51252 of the zoning bylaw. One, to permit additional permitted uses of maximum two supplementary farm dwellings in the form of one supplementary farm dwelling and one large-scale supplementary farm dwelling. The second one is to permit a building area for supplementary farm dwellings of 550 square meters for the large one, and then for a cumulative gross floor area of 615 meters for both. And the last one is to permit a minimum front yard depth of 9 meters to an existing barn and 12 meters to an existing greenhouse, these being accessory farm buildings, whereas section 4.2B of the zoning bylaw requires that accessory uses shall not be built closer to the front lot line than the minimum distance required for the main building, which is 15 meters under section 5.8. So the effect again is very similar to permit a new large-scale supplementary farm dwelling on the subject property with an increased maximum cumulative floor area. Public participation again was held on July the 17th of this year. Council received a presentation from the appointed agent and one in-person public comment. No comments were received virtually. The application's planning justification report and relevant reports are appended to this report, as well as the planner's memorandum. Staff planning opinion is that the applications for amendments can be supported as they meet the PPS, the Elgin County official plan, the Bayham official plan, and the zoning bylaw for Bayham. The official plan amendment requires approval at the county level, so staff would recommend adopting OPA number 41, approval of the zoning bylaw, and then OPA 41 would be forwarded to the county for further consideration. And again, Mr. Mayor, I'm available for any questions you might have.
Well, thank you very much for that report, Thomas. Does anyone have any questions? Councillor Chokad.
I just have one. Is there a timeline as to when the temporary home or temporary building will have to be removed and the new one put in place?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't have that information. I can reach out to the planning coordinator and get that and send it over to you, but tonight I do not have that.
I just wanted to know if there was a date.
Would you like the answer as soon as you can? Or are you willing to wait?
I'm good.
Okay, well.
We do have the
Emily,
applicant's agent online if
Okay.
you permit her to comment on that.
I would allow it. She's a planner. She's currently muted, but
Mhm.
there. Emily, can you provide us with some information on that? Is there a timing restriction or whatever on the replacement?
Yeah, through you, Mayor, to the counselor. So the client did inform us of the timeline. It would be 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for that. Any other questions? All right. Another lengthy motion here. The staff report DS 3625 regarding the official plan amendment application OPA 0225 and zoning bylaw amendment application ZBA 1825 submitted by Vin be received for information. And that pursuant to Planning Act Regulations Bill 73 Smart Growth for Our Communities Act 2015, it be pointed out that at the public participation meeting held July the 17th, 2025, associated with these applications, the appointed agent presented a summary, and there was one person public comment and no comments virtually, and that all considerations were taken into account in council's decision passing this resolution. And that council considers the proposed amendment to add site-specific text section to the official plan to be consistent with the provincial planning statement 2024 and in conformity with the Elgin County official plan and the municipality of Bayham official plan. And that bylaw number 2025-053 being adopting bylaw for official plan amendment number 41 for the purpose of adding a new site-specific subsection 2.1.11.6 to the official plan, and subsequently zoning bylaw number Z 813-2025 to rezone the subject property from the current agricultural A1 zone to site-specific agricultural A1-52 zone to permit a maximum of 2 supplementary farm dwellings in the form of 1 supplementary farm dwelling and 1 temporary mobile home to be replaced in the future by 1 large-scale supplementary farm dwelling with a maximum building area of 550 square meters and a maximum total cumulative gross floor area of 615 square meters for all supplementary farm dwellings, and to recognize the existing minimum front yard setback of 9 meters to an existing barn and 12 meters to the existing greenhouse on lands known municipally as 11045 Bayham Norfolk Boundary Road be presented for enactment, and that adopted official plan amendment number 41 be forwarded to the County of Elgin for approval. Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Chilcott, Councillor Emerson, all in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. We're now going to recess from our regular meeting in order to go into a statutory planning meeting. Okay, we now enter into a statutory planning meeting. It is 7:33 p.m. and I will call this meeting to order. I'll remind members of the disclosures of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Tonight, we're dealing with a proposed zoning bylaw amendment, ZBA 1925, Bonnie and Cadman at 13540 Bayham Drive. The purpose of this bylaw amendment is to rezone the subject property from specific agricultural A1-49 zone to site-specific agricultural A1-X zone to permit a new accessory building containing an indoor pool, associated pool house and facilities, and an additional residential unit, which requires the additional following provisions. Sections 5.12.x to permit a combined maximum floor area for accessory buildings of 861 square meters, 9,264 square feet, whereas section 5.12.49 permits an accessory building with a maximum floor area of 385.4 square meters, or 4,148 square feet, on the subject lands, and section 4.2 F2 permits to a combined maximum floor area of accessory buildings of 200 square meters on lots 0.4 hectares or more. Section 5.12.x to permit an additional residential unit with a maximum gross floor area that is 73.4%, 185.7 square meters or 1,998 square feet in size of the primary dwelling unit, 253.1 square meters or 2,724 square feet in size, whereas section 5.12.49 permits a maximum of 57.1%, 144.4 square meters or 1,553.9 square feet in size on the subject lands, and the subsection 4.59E permits a maximum of 40%. If approved, this zoning bylaw application will repeal and replace zoning bylaw Z 794/2024, approved in November of 2024. The subject property is known as 13540 Bayham Drive, east side and south of Talbot Line. That's highway number 3. The effect of this bylaw is to permit a new accessory building that contains an indoor pool, associated pool house and facilities, and an ARU that exceeds the maximum floor area requirements for accessory uses and maximum floor area for an ARU. Now, at this time, I will call for any public participation. Anyone wishing to speak to this application, please approach or attend the podium, sign in, and have your say. Okay. All right, noting that there's no public consultation or participation. Any correspondence?
Mr. Mayor, we did receive correspondence from Long Point Region Conservation Authority. They reviewed the application in regards to the provincial planning statement, specifically section 5.2, 5.22, which deals with development hazard lands, noting that the development is proposed to be located adequately away from the top of the bank, and they believe it's they say it's consistent with the provincial planning statement 2024. That's all we've received so far.
Thank you. I just note no other business with this public meeting.
Nope.
Brings us to the adjournment motion. Need a mover and seconder for the following: that the zoning bylaw be considered at a future meeting of council, and that pursuant to the Planning Act requirements, the public meeting for zoning application ZBA 1925 is now complete at 7:38 p.m. Do I have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Chilcott and Deputy Mayor Weiser. All in favor? Carried. Okay, welcome back to our regular agenda. We left off at section 13, Finance and Administration, 13.1 Correspondence, 13.11 to receive for information. Item A, Village of Burke Falls regarding battery energy storage system facilities. Item B, Norfolk County regarding Bill C2. Item C, Township of Nairn and Hyman regarding opposition to the transportation and disposal of Nobium tailings at the Agnew Lake Tailings Management Area. And item D, the City of St. Catharines regarding Elect Respect Pledge. Does anyone have any comments? Does anyone wish to bring any issue forward for noting or move the issue forward? Or any questions? Okay, then. We have a motion then that reads that items 13.11A through D be received for information. Moved by Deputy Mayor Weiser, and seconded by Councillor Chilcott. All in favor? That is carried. Moving on to 13.12, requiring action. We have correspondence from John Regan regarding method of voting. Does anyone wish to speak to this? I can take it. Megan, thank you.
Through your worship to council, correspondence was received from John Reagan regarding the voting method for 2026 election. He's requesting council to reconsider the decision of the paper ballot method to move towards internet and telephone. The correspondence is before you to outline the areas that he noted. And if council does wish to reconsider this, I can provide further information for what would be required, or you may receive for information.
All right. Thank you, Megan. Any comments, questions from council? Counselor Chilcott.
Yep. Reading this, he's got some very good points. We did kind of balance on whether we would do a hybrid or just do the paper ballots. I know I don't believe I can bring the motion to
No.
relook at it, but yeah, he's got some very good points.
Absolutely. Thank you. Anyone else? Specific to the correspondence. Okay. Okay. Fair enough.
What,
Counselor
just a question
Emerson?
through you, Mr. Mayor. So there is, it's done, like there's no reconsideration possible or anything? Because we, like, I just want to understand the procedure.
Fantastic. Madam Clerk, would you provide, I guess, a brief outline on the procedure needed?
Yes, Your Worship, through you to council, in our procedural bylaw, there is a section that discusses how an item can be reconsidered. Essentially, an item can be reconsidered if whoever voted on the matter puts forth the motion to do so. So in this instance, if there does wish to be something for reconsideration, it would have to come forth from Councillor Emerson, Councillor Froese, or Mayor Ketchabah to vacate the chair and make the motion himself. Also with that, only a vote to reconsider a particular matter can only happen once during the term of council. So it couldn't just keep going back and forth. So that's why we were able to put this item on the floor, since there hasn't been any, substantial moving forward in the other direction or costs or anything like that, or a different reconsideration already. So we're here today. If there is wanting to reconsider, it would more than likely have to come from yourself, Councillor Emerson.
Counselor
Go
Emerson?
ahead, no.
Well,
I just wanted to add one more point, that normally when council votes on a matter, it's majority plus one. This is a little bit different in that a reconsideration has to be 2/3 or more. As we have 4 tonight, if the reconsideration were to go forward, then we need 3 of 4 to vote for the reconsideration. So it's a little bit of a different voting process.
Counselor.
Through you, Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
that, then you're suggesting that it couldn't be done tonight because there's not enough members of council here?
No, no.
No, not
Three of us.
through you, Mr. Mayor, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is because Councillor Froese is not in attendance, we would need more than 67%. So we would need 3 of the 4 attending councillors to vote for the reconsideration. That's 75%. If Councillor Froese was present, then we would still need 4 of the 5.
Oh, I see.
Counselor Chilcott.
Would we be able to still have time if we deferred this until the next meeting when Councillor Froese can be in attendance as well?
I would suggest that it's possible, as staff have indicated, no expenditures have been, or significant expenditures have been moved or have advanced the issue forward to date, that there is time. But, how long do you want this out there?
Well, I,
Counselor Emerson.
through you, Mr. Mayor, I would put a motion on the floor, delay it till the next regular council meeting when all are present. I think there is some merit for reconsideration. I wouldn't be for all computer or whatever, but I still think a hybrid system is a good idea, or a vote by mail or something to be included with a property tax bill or some kind of thing like that. But so I would put a motion on the floor if all of us were present, because I'm not the only person that had opinions on this matter, and he's not here tonight. So if a motion to delay till next regular council meeting is appropriate, I'd put that on the floor right now.
I'm going to look and see if there is a seconder. All right. So we have Counselor Emerson and Counselor Chilcott wish to defer till the next regular council meeting. Okay. I'm going to ask, let's do this vote first, and then I'm going to come back and either seek direction or seek to give direction to staff, or we'll put it into a motion. Bring back the original report for background.
So I'm just trying to clarify with council, do you want it to be the next regular meeting where all members of council are present? Because sometimes we aren't made aware until the day of that a council member will not be attending a meeting. So it's very difficult for us to then predict which meeting will be the next one where everybody is present.
It's a very good point.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I guess if that issue, I would say the next regular council meeting, and if it's important, we can attend by Zoom or something. Right? Otherwise, it's not that important. I don't know when the next one is, because I know in September, mid-September, I'm out of town for a week. So it becomes an issue.
Next regular council meeting would be September the 4th. And if council were to defer this item into that date, we wouldn't be bringing the original report back. The correspondence would be on the floor along with the reconsideration motion. At that time, then we could then bring the original report back for discussion. But the reconsideration motion, you can only discuss the merits of reconsideration. You cannot discuss the original item.
So you're talking about if this goes on the agenda for 4th, then the following next meeting would be on the 18th. You're not going to be here.
Well, I'm not saying I couldn't check in, but, you know, so.
So while and I think what staff are getting at, and I agree, is trying to find an opportunity when everyone is present. If that's what you wish to do. Or let sleeping dogs lie. Councillor Chilcott.
Sorry, I just want to understand this. So if we did go through with the reconsideration vote tonight, we would not be voting on whether or not we would
We would be doing the same, I think, excuse me, but in September when all of us are present.
Maybe I can ask a question of the clerk. Megan, is there anything in our procedural bylaw that requires council to then reconsider the matter directly after the reconsideration vote? So if they do vote to reconsider on the 4th, then they automatically have to reconsider that item the same night. Is that something in our procedural? Or is the procedural silent on that?
Just reading through this section here. One moment. So the way the section read, it says, if a motion to reconsider is decided in the affirmative, such reconsideration shall become the next order of business unless the motion calls for a future date, and debate on the question to be reconsidered may proceed as though it previously had never been voted on.
So then on the
Yes,
4th,
same night.
it will be done regardless.
Unless
We say.
the motion puts or names a date for that discussion. That's just what the clerk just said. Okay, I believe though we do have a motion on the floor for deferral. Moved by Councillor Emerson, Councillor Chilcott. All in favor of deferral?
To the next regular meeting.
All right, I'll play.
Okay, there we
Let's
go.
do it.
It's carried. There we go. Thank you. And we'll see where we go. We'll discuss it at that point. Moving forward was 13.2 reports to council. We have report TR 1725 by Lauren James, treasurer, regarding the 2025 mid-year parkland dedication and cash in lieu of parkland funds report. Mr. James, you're virtually present.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. Before council is the requests that come out regarding a mid-year report on our parkland dedication and our cash in lieu funds balance. The background outlines the council request from the special capital budget meeting on November the 13th, 2024. And that council had directed on a semi-annual basis. So this would be the 6 month, and then the next time would be at the year end when council sees the year end reserve balances for consideration then. The Cole's notes of it is when we do development or we have subdivisions come in, we collect cash in lieu for parkland. Sometimes they go based on a subdivision amount, sometimes they're based on a lot creation consent amount. The main gist of it, Councillor Chilcott at the capital budget meeting was looking for options to funding the two pavilions, the one in Richmond and the one in Eden. Both of them are capital budget items, PR 09 and PR 10 respectfully. In the body of the report, I've outlined what we have available in the reserve funds, what we're projecting to have, as well as kind of the projected year-end balances. Based on the time of the year and based on where we fit, it would be next to impossible to do the capital works in 25. Staff would be recommending that if council wants, both of the items could be either moved up a year or in the situation of the other one, 2 years and brought into the 26 capital budget. I'll leave that line of questioning for the council, and I'm here for any questions.
All right, so just to clarify, Lauren, you're recommending that because of timing,
Correct?
that this would be perhaps if you want for 2026 discussion or 2020 and 2027. So
I-
you're saying refer to the 2026 capital budget.
The best motion, your worship, that can come from this is if Councillor Chilcott and the rest of council is looking for quicker action would be to direct staff to, in the capital draft budget that'll be presented in the fall, to elevate or bring forward those two projects quicker. And then council can chew on that with the whole scope of the capital works in 26 and 27, depending if council wants to have them as both in the same year or 26 and 27 respectfully. There
Of
is funds to do it as indicated in the body of the report, and there is future funds to come that are projected and outlined in the two subdivisions. But again, those come as the subdivision agreements registration upon registration of phase 2. So
Correct.
some of this stuff could slow down if development slows. So I would take that as the only caveat.
Yes, but still germane to the question, refer to the 2026 capital budget discussion, because at that time, we will also have been gone through the tendering process for this facility, know what we're going to need.
Absolutely, your worship, because a portion of the Parkland Reserve has a capital placeholder in the reserve. So that 143 is the uncommitted of the reserve at present day.
Correct. That's what I'm trying to get at. And Councillor Chilcott, would you be willing to defer discussion and decision on this till the 2026 capital budget?
I've been discussing this since 2022.
Understood.
It was supposed to be done in 2025, and now it's being pushed out to 26, 27. It's been on the budget for years and keeps getting pushed out.
Okay,
So the sooner it's done, the better, in my opinion.
I understand that. From a cash flow point of view, do you wish to do it now and then look for alternative funds should the need be? For the tendering process, which concludes on the 10th of September? Or do you want to have this on the discussion for the 2026 capital budget, which will happen in early October? That's what I'm saying. We'll have identified what the needs are and where we can go. November? Capital budget's November?
Yes.
All
I
right,
can-
my apologies.
If it's not going to be able to be done this fall, which I don't believe that it's
Well,
possible, because
yeah.
anything can be done, then I can wait till November.
okay,
But yeah, it's
okay,
been too long.
I agree.
Everything has.
Well, this has been something that since 2019 has actually is something that's been discussed. And, you know, we're getting a little off track here, but I'm going to mention it. These two pavilions, I recall the former CAO suggesting we push the one rather than the other. And I don't agree. I think the reverse order is more inclined, but we can save that for that discussion at the capital budget, if that's okay.
I can wait till November.
Okay, Councilor Emerson?
It's fine with me. If it's important to Sue and speeding it up, then I'm fine with it. If it can wait till November, I'm fine with it. So,
I think when we think about the construction season and we're winding down into the fall, I'm not sure it can be accommodated until the spring anyway, if we wanted.
Well, that's correct, Mr. Mayor. And talking to Steve today, we're out, looking at things in prep for the 2026 capital budget. And realistically, with everything that's still on Steve's plate for the end of the year, having to have an engineer get some of the, the plans ready tender documents, issue a tender, award a tender. By the time that that's done, you're at a construction season. You're into the winter time. Realistically, this would be a 2026 project, and I think it's prudent to defer it then to the capital budget discussion because we don't know what the Parkland Reserve requirements are going to be for this building should council move forward with it.
Okay, Councilor Chilcott.
Thank you. So everything that you've just stated that needs to be done before you can send it out for tender, when would you start that in 2026? Or is that part of the November discussion?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So if we have direction to do this in 2026, like we can have staff start to ready some of this information, but then if we were to move it to 2025, staff aren't planning at all to do any pavilion work in 2025. It is a significant pivot to move staff resources from core work, for instance, on Carson, where Steve and Jamie are trying to administer that, to non-core in Eden and Richmond. So realistically, if we have a capital budget that's approved in November, and we know that the pavilions are on the docket for 2026, we can start readying what information we need shortly thereafter. I can't put a timeline on tendering, but I would expect it would be sometime in the winter and be looking at, spring, early summer construction, similar to the way that we handled the Vienna Community Park Pavilion and multi-use court.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Councilor Emerson.
through you, Mr. Mayor, further to that, to be clear, what is the risk if you start in November that the planning is not complete by the spring? And then if we are just going to say it's okay in November, why don't we just say it's okay now so we ensure that the documents are prepared and the tenders are all received before the start of construction season?
Well,
I just wondering what the risk is that they're not completed in a timely manner for 2026.
I don't think there's a risk in them not being completed. We've done pavilions in the past. Some of them are a similar size, and we'd have to have the engineering review and the tendering updated. It's not a lot of work to do that, but it is also something that we'd have to contract an external engineer to do since we don't have internal engineers on BAM's staff. I think the bigger risk about identifying it as a 26 project now is that there's a big unknown right now with the SCC expansion out in tender. We don't know what costs are going to come back. We don't know if council is going to opt to do the project or not. And if council wants to do the project and say the cost for the accessible pathway come in a little bit higher, that $65,000 placeholder in the budget has to go up a little bit, which means we have less funds for the pavilion works. Currently, we have 143,000 uncommitted. Both pavilions total 165 based on current estimates. So we're underfunding those right now, and that's with a big unknown still out there. So the risk is more financial than it is administrative at this point.
Okay, it just seems like we're concentrating some development in Eden and not providing suitable parkland for use without a pavilion or shade or something. So it seems a bit concerning, actually, at the rate of development.
Recognizing that, absolutely. But also there's a bit of a pause on that development going on at the moment. And as the treasurer's identified, there are expected parkland fees coming once that resumes. It's a timing issue more than anything. It's a cash flow issue. That's all.
Thomas.
Lauren?
Just to remind council, we did put some money in the Parks and Rec for shade trees in that park in this
Yeah.
year's operating budget. Because that was an item identified about shade out there, and we did put that in the budget. The problem is to get it done in 25, the timeline of your public works staff of trying to get roads done and closed up, the timeline of getting the work done, getting against freezing. Maybe you have higher price of calcium chloride for the concrete work. Once council passes the approved in principle budget in November, or even the second meeting in December, we generally start the first batch of staff reports, tendering, and that within the next 30 to 90 days after, so we can hit the ground running for that first spring. It also gives us ability to have additional bids of different companies. We're not chasing who has availability. They're looking at what they can bid on for the upcoming spring for their work and for their labor. So it's not being deferred to Councillor Chilcott's comment. It would be when we pass a capital budget, we always pass the stuff for in year because that's the stuff that has to done immediately done. The second year would always get worked on if it's a multi-tier. It needs engineering first, then construction. In this situation, council passes the principle in November, December, like as the CAO indicated, we would be coming back with the staff report and the RFP and tendering packages, correspondingly. So I don't think there's any displacement, and we've already put operating funds for shade trees in this year's operating budget as well.
Great. Thank you, Lord. Anything additional?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. I was just wondering if there was some assurance that we could complete it in November. That's all. And then maybe the extra couple months. But if the CAO, Mr. Thayer, believes that there's no issue, then I agree with them.
Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Got something for direction?
I think through you, Mr. Mayor, I think the question the clerk is asking is about whether it's just PR 09 and 10 or whether there's discussion about 12. 12 is included in the report more so for an information piece because it is another pavilion, but it is grant dependent rather than levy based.
Yeah.
So this, I believe, the discussion would be just focused on Richmond and Eden, which are 9 and 10.
What is it's grant dependent PR 12, but what year was it scheduled for?
It's scheduled for next year. The current item identifies $40,000 in engineering
Yeah.
and $210,000 for a grant, and non-core grants just simply aren't something that are out there at this size right now.
Okay. So you don't think it's necessary to bring that back for discussion for the 26th?
Well, just because it is a capital item, all capital items will be part of the capital package.
Right.
Steve and I have had some discussions about this one, and given that there is a grant component, we'll be recommending that this item be pushed back a couple of years. And that kind of opens the way up for Eden and Richmond just by virtue of moving things around a little bit.
Thank you. Megan, please, if you would.
Motion reads that report TR 1725 regarding 2025 mid-year parkland dedication and cash in lieu of parkland funds report be received for information, and that further discussions on capital item numbers PR 09 and PR 10 be referred to the 2026 capital budget discussions.
Okay. Do I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Emerson moves. Councillor Chilcott seconds. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Item B, report CAO 3325 by Thomas Thayer, CAO, regarding Bayham Community Strategic Plan progress, the 2025 mid-year report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I try to bring these reports to council approximately every 6 months to give an idea of what staff have been doing to move forward council's priorities for the term. So as council's aware, your strategic plan is broken up into 3 different sections. Your first one is quality of place. So we're looking at core infrastructure investment, tourism, and strategies to attract and retain businesses. So we continue to focus our capital program on core infrastructure. So Elliott roadworks were completed, and staff are starting work on the Carson as well. They've done a little bit of drain and culvert work so far, and they'll be moving that forward over the balance of the year. And that the tandem has been procured under budget. The sidewalk program had been arranged through Autoform. I believe this is now complete, adjacent to the Port Burwell Public School, and we've already received positive feedback through that program, which I'm pleased to share with staff as well. Council did award the Lakeshore Line study under the Public Works budget. This went to Shore Plan Engineering. This report, or it's 2 reports, these reports are now complete. They will be coming back to council at the next regular session. We've also continued to work with A+ Link Architecture and associated professionals on the community center expansion under the ISIP program. Pleased to advise that after some time, including a rescoping, we have gone to tender for this. It was out as of Monday. Tender closes on September the 10th, and we're hopeful to have a report back to council for September the 18th. This will require discussion, obviously, with the architect and also with the treasurer to make sure that we're accounting for what we need to and providing council with the information about how best to finance the project if it moves forward. That obviously is dependent on the prices we receive. If we can't hit September 18th, then it will be October the 2nd. We don't anticipate it going later than that. Second section of the strategic plan is quality of life. So this deals with areas such as passive and active services to the community, strategic growth, and being environmentally conscious. So we continue to work internally and with the Department of Fisheries and Oceans regarding some of the engineering works for the pier. Procurement is anticipated this fall. The municipality was once again successful this year with blue flag status. This has been communicated to council staff and residents in the media. We did hold a flag raising in June, and the Waterfront Advisory Committee has met 3 times this year, including in July for their beach tour. We'll be meeting again in October as well. Public Works staff completed work on the canoe and kayak launch, which is in the capital budget for this year. This project is reserve funded, so it comes out of the Vienna Community Reserve Infrastructure Reserve Fund. The budget was $60,000. This is anticipated to be under budget. Final numbers aren't in yet, but right now it's looking somewhere in the 30 to 35 range, which is good. And council considered tonight some works in regards to the Stratfordville Community Park. The municipality continues to work on its official plan conformity review. My understanding is that at this point in time, we're really waiting for approval of the Elgin County official plan to then finalize the municipal official plan, because it's kind of a domino where, we've got to wait on the upper tier plan to then approve the lower tier plan. Once this is complete, it's anticipated that we'll start work with Arcadis on the official or the zoning bylaw review, which is also budgeted for. Quality of governance. This deals with develop and retaining knowledge for services, demonstrating financial responsibility, taking advantage of partnerships and joint ventures for the betterment of the community. So staff came forward this year with a report from the fire chief regarding single-year procurement for the SCBAs rather than the 3-year procurement that was identified in the capital budget. Council was supportive. We moved forward with that, and were able to receive some cost savings by doing it as 1 procurement rather than 3. The municipality's finances have continued to improve in the first half of 2025. So since 2020, the municipalities ended each fiscal year in net surplus. 24 was no different. And in 2025, council passed formal direction in March to pay off the balance of the Ojibwa debt. The municipality's auditor presented the consolidated financial statements and continues to provide positive feedback to staff and council about our improving financial position. Council also approved the operating budget with a 6% tax levy increase. This was in line with what was previously directed. As a side note, I'd expect sometime in September or early October, we could be coming back to council with a report seeking direction for the 2026 budget. The levy increase was informed by $1.1 million for the guarantorship loan reserve. So officially, from an accounting perspective, the Ojibwa comes off the books this year as of the end of the fiscal, even though we have paid it off now. Staff did bring a report to council in January regarding a paid parking pilot, looking at ways to supplement some of our own source revenues. At council's direction, we moved forward with a 1-year paid parking pilot through Honk Mobile. Traffic and parking bylaw amendments were also adopted by council to support this program, and we did hire seasonal bylaw staff, again, to support enforcement. As of the end of June, we had generated $24,335.10 in net parking revenues. This is based upon a reduction of gross revenues of approximately 10%. So this $24,000 is an approximate figure, with significantly more to having been generated through July and August to date. So I will note that as of the drafting of this report, so August 14th, we were sitting at an estimated $89,400 in generated revenue. Council budgeted 70, and we're projecting at this point approximately 110, maybe 120 if the weather continues to work in our favor. So This information will be coming back in the fall through the bylaw office, and it'll be a kind of a joint report with Steve, Mark, Lauren, and myself, providing council with all the information they might need to either, extend the pilot or make it permanent. But long story short, it's been very successful so far from a revenue generation perspective. Senior staff have also worked with Watson and Associates and a pair of financial policies to, set a plan in place for core and non-core infrastructure funding. So we've looked at development charges and asset management. Council has received the development charge information. I believe the bylaw is on this agenda for consideration. So as of the end of Q2, we're also preparing draft financial documentation for the asset management plan. Council will recall that on the July 30th special meeting, you considered the financial plan itself that will then get included in the final report. We're hopeful that report will come back in September. To support the municipality's financial health and streamline procurement, Council has received and approved minor procurement policy updates regarding tendering, and a comprehensive review and update of the procurement policy is currently ongoing. Discussion continues to be had with the county on options for a centralized planning service to be housed at the county, which provide planning services to BAM. It's anticipated that council will receive some more information on this going into the fall. What I can say, I believe the county has received a report on this to date, and I believe their planning staff advised that costs incurred by the lower tiers that have come online with their centralized service have been lower than expected, which is positive to hear. Finally, in this report, just a reminder that staff have been engaged with Malahide and Central Elgin on a pair of large grant applications for the transmission main on Nova Scotia line. We've made application to both the Canada Housing Infrastructure Fund and the Health and Safety Water Stream of the Municipal Housing Infrastructure Program. So this work is currently in our capital budget as a 2028 item, $16.8 million. Any grant support would significantly reduce the potential cost burden, so we're hopeful that we'll land at least one of the two. I guess to close, staff will continue to provide regular updates to council on the strategic plan. 2026 is the last year of your strategic plan, and we will have an item in the 2027 capital budget for a plan update so the new council can move forward with what they would like their priorities to be. However, we will continue moving forward with this council's priorities for the balance of the term. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I'll leave it with you and council for any questions you might have.
All right, thank you, Thomas. Does anyone have any questions on this update? Okay, well, again, thank you very much.
I do.
Councilor Emerson.
Mr. Mayor, sorry, I slow to react. I don't know what was going on there. So apparently the switch has to get turned on. But through you, Mr. Mayor, to the CEO. If we're looking at centralized planning, it's always been a concern of mine of expediting and encouraging investment into municipality. At what point do we say, oh, this, or do that we're going ahead with that, or are we adding to our complement of staff to ease some of the burden around here for possible development and increasing our tax base? It's kind of like they're kind of coexisting together. And so this seems like if we're dependent on the one, then we're not planning for the other. That's kind of what I was thinking. You follow me?
I don't think they're, the two statements are, yeah, I don't think it's an either or situation. In my opinion, we probably won't be entertaining a joint or shared services and planning until after we have the zoning bylaw review. We'll probably go through the OPA and the Z zoning bylaw review because we're already engaged Arcadis on this. But the intention is, in my opinion, from a purely, cost effectiveness point of view, engaging the county planning staff rather than paying the Arcadis contractor should be more cost effective for us. That's the one thing.
Okay.
But county staff will have to upscale in order to accommodate us as well. They've had to upscale to accommodate Dutton Dunwich and Southwold at the moment. Excuse me. Dunwich? Yeah, this is Dunwich and Southwold.
Yeah.
So that will have to happen. I believe that when we move in that direction, should council move in that direction, we will still have to have an intake person or a planning coordinator on site. But that doesn't preclude moving with additional resourcing to get where your goal is.
Well, if you, through you, Mr. Mayor, to you, as you recall in the previous meeting, we discussed that upcoming infrastructure costs and expectations and the limited ability to tax further to accommodate those. And then was suggested by me, I guess, that we somehow encourage investment in there to spread that cost and increase the tax base that way.
Yep.
So I just want to keep every opportunity I get. I just want to say, hey, we should focus some investment in personnel to achieve expansion of them.
Well, I think that is on the radar, and I think it's coming forward in the fall for discussions of
Okay.
potential
All right.
potentials. The one thing about planning, and keep in mind, planning is more of a based on the benefits principle, and because of the applications and fees and things that come in. And should you have a sufficient workload, then planning isn't subsidized by the levy, right? So it has very minimal impact on your levy, unless you have no development going on. Then you're paying for a staff member, and it's got to come from somewhere. It's very 30,000.
Well, there is limited time budgets because there's only so much one person can do. I guess that's the
right.
thing,
There's that.
right?
Yeah.
So if the economy turns around and if a lot of people want to do subdivisions and everything else, then we are definitely limited on personnel resource to handle all those subdivision things. That's not definitely. My concern is we're not
Right.
fully staffed to efficiently handle any influx of.
Right. Currently, we rely on the contractor planning right now. Okay. So Arcadis is our agent that we use. If I missed something?
No, all I would say, just to, I guess, clarify and try to, tie it up a little bit. Back in late 2023, this council received a brief presentation from the then interim CAO from the county on what they were proposing for planning service. And what I would expect is that I'd coordinate something with their director of planning to come to council and give a presentation on what they offer, that sort of thing, to give an idea of what's there. And in discussions I've had with them, it's very similar to, I guess, the Arcadis model, except they're public service versus private sector. And they are, generally speaking, from what I've seen, a bit of a lower cost center because it's cost recovery rather than a lot of administrative overhead. I think when it comes to dealing with applications, Mr. Mayor, I believe you're correct in that we would look to stay with Arcadis for the policy planning side of it, which is, the OP and the zoning bylaw. There may be the opportunity to slowly transition some of the development applications over to the county as they scale up their planning service as well. And as they look at capacity, these are some of the high level discussions I've already had with the county. So that option is also there. What I can say is that, yes, we will still require an intake person. So there will be no negative impact to our staffing complement, but we do continue to evaluate that within the scope of the budget that council has approved for us. And we do take that into account when looking at 2026. So I'd expect any discussion of the staffing levels to come to closed session and that sort of thing in the future.
Awesome. Thank you.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
It's coming. Any other questions? Again, thank you for that report, Thomas. We have a motion then that reads that report CAO 3325 regarding Bayham Community Strategic Plan Progress 2025 mid-year report be received for information. I have a mover and seconder. Councillor Chilcott, Deputy Mayor Weisler, all in favor. Carried. Item C, report CAO 3425 by Thomas Thayer, CAO regarding temporary use agreement Rowe and Picard at 7127 Plank Road.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is just a quick informational report. So council's delegated authority to the CAO for purpose of executing development and temporary use agreements. So we received 2 building permit applications from Alexandra Rowe and Julian Picard for 7127 Plank Road. They're interested in living in trailers on the property until they can finalize construction of what is essentially a barn dominium on the property. So to facilitate this request, we entered into a temporary use agreement. The agreement must identify the number and models of the trailers, which it does, must identify the time period of removal once occupancy is granted. The applicants have requested for 2 trailers. These must be removed either 6 months after receiving occupancy for the new dwelling or within 2 years of completion of construction, whichever comes first. And the applicants must also maintain a current sanitary servicing agreement with a licensed operation for the trailers during the balance of the agreement. And to help with this and the surety of it, they posted a deposit of $10,000. The agreement was executed in July and it is attached to this report. Again, this is an information item only, and I'm available for questions.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. Any questions? Okay, we have a motion then that reads report CAO 3425 regarding temporary use agreement, Rowan Picard at 7127 Plank Road, Bayham, be received for information. Moved by Councillor Emerson, second by Deputy Mayor Weisler. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Brings us down to the bylaws. We have 5. We have bylaw number 2025-051, a bylaw to establish development charges for the Corporation and Municipality of Bayham. Bylaw number 2025-052, being a bylaw to adopt official plan amendment number 40. Bylaw number 2025-053, being a bylaw to adopt official plan amendment number 41. Bylaw number Z812, 2025, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number Z456, 2003, Desjardins. And bylaw number Z813, 2025, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number Z456, 2003, Vin. Any questions on the bylaws? Or I asked the question, Madam Clerk, has bylaw number 2025-051 been amended?
Yep. Just I'll speak to this one, just give a little bit of context. So we did find a typo after publishing in the bylaw itself. It doesn't materially change the bylaw, but it is under section 33C. These templated bylaws tend to be used from municipality, and we noted the wrong county in there. That was flagged to us. So we have changed it in the official version already. I'm just noting that that should read County of Elgin. However, that section speaks specifically to the area of the bylaw that doesn't apply to wetlands. So it really does not materially change the context of the bylaw. So just putting it out there that we did find that and flag that in the official version.
Yes, I agree. It refers to those exemptions.
Yes.
Just didn't think we need to exempt the county of Peterborough.
Yeah, I know I used to work there, but we can probably leave them out of this.
Thank you. That's what I was referring to. So if that's fine and good to go. Okay, any other questions on any of these bylaws? All right, then I need a mover and seconder for the following. The bylaw numbers 2025-051, 2025-052, 2025-053, Z812, 2025, and Z813, 2025 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Councillor Emerson will move, Deputy Mayor Weisler will second. All in favor? Carried. I don't believe we have any unfinished business tonight, which moves us to section 16, other business. We have the draft minutes of the July 21st, 2025 Waterfront Advisory Committee and the draft minutes of the July 23rd, 2025 Museum Advisory Committee. Does anyone have any concerns or questions regarding those draft minutes? If not, then we have a motion that the draft minutes of the July 21st, 2025 Waterfront Advisory Committee meeting and the draft minutes of the July 23rd, 2025 Museum Advisory Committee meeting be received for information. Moved by Deputy Mayor Weisler, seconded by Councillor Chilcott. All in favor? That's carried. I know I seem to be rushing through, but I didn't see anybody objecting. Item C, recommendations to council from the Waterfront Advisory Committee.
Mr. Mayor, I'll take this item.
Thank you.
So We held the last Waterfront Advisory Committee meeting on July 21st, and we had great weather for the beach tour and dealt with some standard items regarding not only the beach tour, but capital items. So that's what these two recommendations stem from. The first one is specific to the potential for dune grass restoration. We did have conversation with the Waterfront Committee and with the Manager of Public Works during our beach tour about a location for this, which would be near the East Bioswale on the property. The recommendation before council out of that would be to have staff consult with the North Shore Residents Working Group for dune grass location and post and rope. In regards to this, and Megan will have that in a motion that we would look at having this be, identified as the appropriate body rather than specifically the Resilience Working Group, because we will also be consulting with the Long Point Region Biosphere as well on this. So that gives us a little bit latitude. But staff are supportive of this. And the second item in regards to capital, as council's aware, we do have a couple of items coming up in the budget. One is FA09, that's the washroom expansion at the beach. And we also have PR 06, which is the current capital item for the electric charging station. So the recommendations out of this one include consideration of certain elements in the expansion. And while these are being recommended to council, this is the engineering for this is a 2026 item. So we don't have an engineer officially for this one yet. We really haven't started those discussions, but staff have flagged these items going forward. Realistically, they don't need council approval until we have an idea what that plan actually entails, because the amount of land available down there for an expansion is relatively small geographically. However, the suggestion about relocating PR06, which is the electric charging station, to another location in Port Burwell may be prudent. And this came about due to potential impacts to a paid parking program at the beach, and losing a few parking spaces to an electric charging station. There may be a better location for it. Council may also opt for another location in Bayham, which could include, the SCC parking lot, for instance, because it is heavily used as well. So that option does exist. And the other item was directing staff to investigate options to streamline signage at the beach, recognizing that we do have a lot of different signage down there for different matters, including bylaw enforcement, the Blue Flag program, general water and seasonal ice safety, that sort of thing. We may be able to investigate options to streamline signage down there. New signage will come at a cost, but it is worth taking a look at as well. So, Mr. Mayor, those recommendations are before you and council, and interested in having any discussion on that should council wish.
Well, thank you very much for that. Does anyone have anything to wish to address on these recommendations?
There is a lot of signs.
There are a lot of signs, and I think empowering staff the opportunity to go through and find a way to simplify them is a prudent thing to do. Absolutely. And I think authorizing direction for staff to consult with the appropriate agencies regarding the dune grass restoration is appropriate. And I agree with your comments regarding the stage for the washroom restoration or expansion.
Yeah, just note on that one too. When we get to the point where we're in the design stage, we expect this to come back to committee for their comments at that time. So if there's any elements that we've missed that they'd like to comment on, then we can flag that early on in the process. But noting that they have identified, 4 items that they'd like us to take a look at, then we can include that in any preliminary discussion we have.
All right, thank you very much. There it is. My mouse died, sorry. All right, any other questions? We have a proposed motion before us, if there aren't any. Okay. The recommendation is that the recommendations to council from the Waterfront Advisory Committee be received for information. And that staff be directed to consult with the appropriate body for dune grass location and post and rope. And discussions on PR 06 be referred to the capital budget deliberations. And that staff be directed to investigate options to streamline signage at the East Beach. Do I have a mover and seconder for that? Counselor Chilcott, Counselor Emerson, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Section 16.1, we're going to move into an in-camera session. Before we do, we have to pass the following motion that council do now rise to enter into an in-camera session at 8:29 PM to discuss a confidential item regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, Waterfront Advisory Committee appointment. Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Chilcott. Deputy Mayor Weiser, all in favor? And that is carried. While we're closing down for the closed meeting, I suggest a 5-minute break.